Hey guys, Pedro here to tell you about the latest from Darkest Hour Perpetual Terminal, out February 23rd on Monarch Heavy. This album has 11 tracks, 41 minutes in length, and this is the band's 10th full-length studio album. They are an American melodic death metal band. Now, this album, from a design standpoint, it has a pretty classic approach, at least looking from the outside. A record that feels balanced, that feels cohesive, with an interlude, Amor Fati, right in the middle, breaking the record into two parts. And overall, there is a sense of continuity, there is a sense, like I said, of balance. But I noticed that the second half of the album is definitely a little bit more melancholic than the first. There are still some heavier songs, there are still some tracks that really push forward. A song like My Only Regret that has a little bit of a punk hardcore vibe to it, really breaking the mold of that melancholy. But that second half definitely takes you more into an introspective path, while the first half of the record is a little bit more the exteriorization of those exact same emotions. But overall, the balance is there. It's a record that has the right ebbs and flows. I really enjoyed the construction. I thought that enhanced the overall experience of listening to this record. A record that sound-wise, it's not overly produced. It's not overly polished. It's quite rugged, actually. It's almost like a throwback to early melodic death metal scene from Sweden. It has that aroma of At the Gates, Dark Tranquillity, specifically early on In Flames, and you see it not just in the sound, but you see it in the production behind said sound. So I think that sets the bar, that sets the tone for what the entire album puts forward. Having a little bit more of this rugged feel in the sound, and you're going to notice it specifically coming out of the guitars. When the guitars are really thick and are really heavy, you notice that the sound around that guitar becomes a little bit more rough. It's not perfect, it's not clean, it's not polished, but all of that adds to the aggression, it adds to the intensity. The guitar sound all around is very eclectic, or it's at the very least, it's very diverse, because you have that more rugged sound when the guitars are at its heaviest. Then you have a little bit more clean, polished, better produced sound when the guitars become more melodic, and when that takes the forefront of what's driving the songs. And then you also have a lot of acoustic elements, which brings the mood down, which adds to that introspective nature of the songs and adds to the overall melancholy of some of the tracks. So as you can see, from a guitar sound standpoint, they are the ones driving the experience of this record. This is a very guitar-centric album, but it doesn't give you just one perspective. It's multifaceted as far as the guitar sound is concerned, but it doesn't matter which side of the guitar sound you get. It's always a side that's going to control the songs, that's going to drive the songs, and it's going to have a direct impact in the overall sound experience. The drums sound great, but they don't have that forefront impact. And I think if you go with that more old school melodic death metal sound, the drums fitting the way they do, it works better because it gives more room for the guitars to breathe. It gives more room for the guitars to be pushed forward. So the drums sit slightly further back. They're there more to make the sound overall feel a little bit fuller, give it a little bit more zest. But there's no single point on this record where you see the drums being pushed more into the forefront. Almost the same could be said about the bass, with the exception of a couple of songs. My Only Regret, definitely one of the songs where the bass plays a more defined role. Even the drums play a more defined role, but I think that comes from that more punk hardcore influence that jumps into that track versus the rest of the album that has more of that melodic death metal sound as their bass. Vocally super strong. I honestly couldn't have asked for a better album vocally. I felt like the diversity that you see in the guitars, it's quietly matched by not the diversity of the vocals, but by the duality of the vocals. You have the harsh vocals that add aggression, that add intensity, and then you have the clean vocals that are just absolutely haunting. One sets up the other and one enhances the other. The harsh vocals enhance the more melancholic nature of the clean vocals. The clean vocals enhance the more aggressive and intensive sound of the harsh vocals. Having them both on this record and not necessarily overusing the clean vocals, using them sporadically to a point that becomes tasteful and it doesn't lose its impact, it's definitely key for this album to work. If you start seeing them being dropped into every single song, either be at choruses or outside choruses, the album would lose a little bit of that melodic death metal sound, and it would start to move more into a metalcore experience, keeping those vocals more controlled, more sporadic, using them to add melancholy, using them to add a sense of despair. Fits better with the melodic death metal sound overall that this album puts forward. So that impact is definitely noticed on this record. A record that, while being early in the year of 2024, this is going to be one of those records that everybody's going to be talking about it throughout the rest of the year and for a very long time. It's an outstanding album. Perhaps if you're doing a list at the end of the year, you may forget it because it came out so early in the year, but the quality of this record really pushes it as to be one of the defining albums within the genre, but even outside the genre for 2024. Outstanding work by Darkest Hour, releasing that 10th album, and the 10th album is an absolutely banger of a record. Now, as far as favorite songs are concerned, I had a hard time picking favorite songs. I honestly did. I mean, outside of the interlude, which is not a song that that I would consider a defining track on this record. Outside of that track, you have 10 songs that could easily be singles, that could easily be top songs on this record. It's an album that's very, very balanced from a quality standpoint as well. But here are my favorite three. One with the Void. First of all, I love this song because of the clean vocals, are super haunting. The drums and guitar sound feels warm, but at the same time it feels very empty. There's this sense of an empty vessel to that sound, the combination of those two elements, which creates a great atmosphere within this track. The harsh vocals increase the intensity, the aggression of the song, and they definitely help push the sound as well, allowing the melancholic movement to change with intensity, with the way the vocals are come across. So it's a track that everything goes in pairs. The sound becoming bigger, heavier, is also matched by the vocals becoming bigger and heavier. The sound of this song, when it needs to be a little bit more further down, when it needs to be a little bit darker, a little bit more somber, you got the clean vocals, and then the sound matches that same experience. So the two are interconnected in this completely Jekyll and Hyde style track, at least from a vocal and sound standpoint, which adds to the overall atmosphere as well. Next we have Mausoleum. This is hands down my favorite song on the entire record. It comes in the second half of the album. It comes in that half that has more of that melancholic drive, that has more of that sense of sadness to the sound and to the experience of the sound. And this song starts off acoustic with clean vocals. I don't think you can find a better combination of elements in order to really paint a vivid picture of a sense of emptiness, that there's death, nothing around, you're alone, stuck in a coffin, if you will, just contemplating your life and what it was, and perhaps how empty it has been, unfulfilled. That's the feeling, the emotions that you get when you listen to this track, at least when it opens, and you have that sense of emptiness because of the stripped down nature of the sound with the acoustic guitar. And I love the acoustic guitar on this track. You can hear everything. You can hear the fingers running through the strings popping. It's very natural. It feels like it was almost recorded live. It doesn't have a studio filter to it, which I think adds even more emotion to the way the track comes across. And then those clean vocals really enhance it. It's like a megaphone. It enhances that overall experience. But then when the song becomes heavier, when the song becomes harsher, so do the vocals, and that allows for an explosion of energy. A song that defines two complete extremes, a song that has the best solo in the entire record, and that's how it closes off the track. So I honestly enjoy the experience, I enjoy the calm, and I enjoy the storm, and then that solo was the cherry on top of the cake. Last but definitely not least, I mentioned this song a few times already, My Only Regret, a very punk hardcore style song, not just in the sound but also in the length. It's 2 minutes and 11 seconds, really short track, but it packs a punch. It's aggressive from the get-go, it's in your face, it's abrasive, it comes at you fast. The bass really pops. I think it's the song where the bass is the most noticeable throughout the entire record, and that once again comes from that punk hardcore influence that the track has, that allows these elements that in other songs, because of the way those songs are designed, it doesn't have as much of a stage to shine. On this track, you can really hear it and feel the bass, the impact that it has, and how this song moves along. It's a great track all around. It's a track that comes also in that second half of the album, and it's a track that kind of gives you a jolt, because it comes around tracks that are very melancholic in nature, that have that stripped down, that have that feeling of emptiness, and this song kind of fills back up. It fills the tank. You're able to rev the motor once again. So it's an important song that kind of breaks the paradigm of where you are within the album, but it still has the same sort of energy and jovial, youthness to it that you also get in the first half of the record, just presented in a different vessel, in a different way. This is it, Darkest Hour, Perpetual Terminal, out February 23rd on Monarch Heavy. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.